Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 120 of the Sovereign Storytellers podcast. I just ran out of air with your host, Michelle Wolf. Sorry about that. So I'm in the podcast vehicle studio because the weekends around here are a hellish leaf blower type of existence. So anyway, hopefully you can't hear it. It is super obnoxious. So I'm in the car in the garage. And honestly, if you're making a podcast and you're worried about acoustics, the car or your bathroom is really good. Because there's no external noise. You can hook everything up. It's not complicated. If you are letting equipment hold you back from making starting a podcast, don't. Because if you have a car, you can sit in that and it cuts everything out. Hopefully it cuts the leaf blower out, because good Lord, can that sound just slice through the piece of all dimensions? Okay, so what I want to talk to you about today is healing the internal division, which has to do with some victim energy, some victim thinking, victim patterns, which is in our world right now. Victim, wham, wham, me is at the highest possible volume right now, right? On all the sides. You're victimizing me by this and this. You're victimizing me by this and this. I'm being injured by you. I'm making fun of us. And myself included, because, I'm in long-term recovery. I'm in the 12 steps for victim thinkers. 12-step program. Hi, my name's Michelle, and I'm a victim thinker. So anyway, we all do it. It's a human thing. When you look back at ancient stories, it's a human thing. Even, which king was it in the Bible that was had a moment of existential angst? That's recorded for all time. It's all meaningless. A tale of sound and fury told by an idiot signifying nothing, right? The ultimate victim. So, what I mean about why that victim energy permeates this division in ourselves. I'm not talking about external stuff, because good Lord, what a fucking nightmare. But internally is where we can make a difference, right? We can do things externally, but the root cause is in all of us internally. So our energy is better spent doing what we can do out there, like go on a march, do what you need to do, disseminate whatever information you think is appropriate, do whatever, with detachment, because you ain't changing nobody's mind by now. People are kind of where they are. The time for changing minds might be over through those methods, So vote, do what you need to do externally, but spend the primary part of your focus inside. How this got triggered and why you're getting an episode about it is I was reading in a different group that somebody had gone, I'm trying to be super vague because I don't want to, share anything confidential, but hypothetically speaking, so this person went to a place and felt like source wasn't there, that he couldn't find source energy in this place. He couldn't connect to God, Goddess, source. He just couldn't find it because of all the trappings and the hawkers of goods and the commercialism of the sacred place, which happens a lot. Sacred spots on the earth draw it all, good, bad, and in between, because it's a power spot. Power is power is power. It doesn't say it's a power spot only for the stuff we like. No, it's a power spot for all the things. And that is the message that keeps getting hammered home and hammered home every time I meditate, every time I do a reading for someone from Be in the Gang, which insert commercial here. Those are on sale for $39.50, which is half price for the month of October as an autumn bonus for you, y'all. So if you want a reading, you can go to thatmichellewolf.com/crystal report, or just go to my website. It's right there at the top. You can book it in October and get yourself the sale price, and you can schedule your session whenever you want. Like, you don't have to schedule a session right now if you just want to buy something for the future at half price. So anyway, end commercial. So this healing the split within. A lot of times we're split because we're viewing the external as something that it isn't, or lacking, or that we're lacking something that we can only find out there. So this person was at this sacred spot and they were like, I can't find, because of this table full of cheap plastic statues, I can't find God. Well, I'm just going to use God. I can't find God because all of these tables are selling cheap plastic Jesus sculptures or whatever, you know? And we've all felt that. We go to a place, we have expectations, we want that sense of oneness, and we think because the external appearance isn't what we want it to be, or somebody's talking, that now we can't find our connection to the oneness. Okay, that's not true. The oneness is, you can't be separate from it. Nobody selling cheap plastic statues has anything to do with your ability and your capacity to connect to the oneness, if you ever have. If you've never had that experience of being one with the universe, then okay, maybe. But most people have at least had a moment of all is well with the world. I feel one with everything, or everything is okay, even for a flash of a second. So that didn't come from what you were seeing or hearing outside of you, but we misattribute. It's misattributed. We misattribute. We misattribute the source. We misattribute the trigger as having the power, but the trigger doesn't have the power. It just reminded you, or it helped you shift your focus, and then you stepped into the oneness, which is always, 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 always there, regardless of what's happening outside of you. That doesn't mean to say, I don't mean to say that because it's always there, it's easy for you to refocus there. That part takes practice, but it is always there. It doesn't go away. The sun is always shining. Clouds cover the sun. You don't think, oh my God, the sun has disappeared. Somebody stole the sun. You're like, oh, fuck, it's cloudy or whatever. I actually love cloudy days, so it's not a problem for me. But you don't think that the sun is gone. You just know that the clouds are in between you and the sun. It's no different. Source, your awareness of oneness, your pure existence of oneness is always there. The mind gets between you and the sun. The mind is your clouds. It clouds things, and that's okay. Nothing is broken here. It's a skill building. It's a practicing. Get the skill and then practice the shit out of it. So that when you're at a sacred space and some idiot is having a conversation really loud in a place you're supposed to be praying, or somebody is selling garbage souvenirs, it has no power over you. Do you see where the victim-y thinking, oh, la, 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 I'm powerless against your yucky plastic sculptures. You've taken my power away. Okay? So it's not about that. It's not at all about that. That is what your mind, that is a mind fully in control. That is a mind that was seeking the oneness, the experience of the oneness outside itself, outside of himself or herself or themselves. When it's outside of you, it is extremely tenuous and fragile. if you have to go to a certain place in order to feel your connection to God, that is a very fragile and tenuous connection that breaks under the least little bit of stress. And then you feel all alone and powerless to change your circumstances. When your ability to step into the oneness is fully and fully practiced and very much a part of your daily life, it doesn't matter. You could lose everything and you might flicker in and out of the oneness in the state of peace, but the internal peace down deep in your belly, you'd be aware of it. So you'd see the choppy waves on the surface of the ocean, but you'd be fully in the deeps of peace at the same time. Not everyone has had that experience where shit is exploding all around you. There's a tragedy happening. There's a sudden upheaval of chaos in your life, but you're aware of your mind freaking out about that, but you're also aware that you're down in your hips, you're okay, like it's going to be okay, or you're also aware of the peace. So it's the ability to hold the both and the duality to hold them both in your your consciousness at the same time. So think back on your life. If you've ever had that experience, that's what I'm talking about. And if you haven't had that experience, you absolutely can have that experience with practice. So you cannot be separate. You cannot be separate. You cannot. It is literally impossible for you to be separate from what makes you alive, from the actual, I'll say the quantum field, but we often are misusing quantum concepts, but whatever. You know what I mean. Like the life force itself, you can't be separate from it. You ain't dead. And even if your body was dead, your body would still be a part of that because it's energy. Your soul will still be a part of it because you're energy. It's all different facets of energy. Think about a multifaceted diamond. When you turn a multifaceted diamond, you're looking at the plane of the gem that's been sliced and polished that's facing your eyeballs. That doesn't mean all the other polished planes on the gem have disappeared, but you're not focused on them. You're focused on the one right in front of your face, but it all still exists. This is the challenge. That this thing exists and that thing exists. It all and it all exists. You cannot be separate from the sun. You cannot. You can't be separate from God unless your mind is telling you you're separate, unless you have slipped into parent-child relationship with Source, which it isn't. It's not daddy. It's not mommy. It is the eternal life force that fills every. So, I mean, we can't even grasp it, right? If we ever think that we've truly grasped the nature of source energy, we're deluding ourselves. We get facets of it, right? We can't hold the whole diamond outside of ourselves to look at and examine because we're in it. We are the diamond. We can't see it objectively in a human form. I'm making a big assumption that we can see it in spirit form, but I don't know that to be true. Maybe we can't. Maybe there are layers and stages of oneness awareness even on the spirit plane. I don't fucking know. But I do know you can't be separate from it. So what do you do? If you're feeling victimized and powerless by all the chaos and you're not taking breaks from the news to remember that the whole world isn't burning down, and you're lost in that, how do you get back from it? How do you go to a sacred place and recognize that it's nice to visit a sacred place where you might have a little boost in order to refocus your consciousness, but it isn't the source of the consciousness. When we fall in love, we think it's the other person that triggered that beautiful pink cloud feeling in us. They didn't. They were the trigger. They were the stimulus. We have our own response. Going to a sacred place might give you a little extra stimulus to refocus because the energy is strong there. But it's not the source. The sacred place is not the source. You are. The person you fell in love with is not the source. You are. Your rosary, your church building is not the source. It's a tool. It's a tool to remind you. Bibles, textbooks, ancient sacred texts, mala beads, rosary beads, uh, rings with religious symbols on it, meditation tools, bells that we ring, meditation cushions that we sit on. Those are all tools that remind us, ritual objects. Our ritual objects and rituals help us because they remind us, but they're not the source. Crystals remind us. They add their energy to us, which can help, but it's not the source. The crystal's not doing the thing. You are. You're refocusing your consciousness, being fluid and able to shift your consciousness to focus in on, one angle of the diamond and really focus on that is the ultimate power. And so often we, me included, are giving away our power to the thing that we're looking at. We're looking at the facet of the diamond that has stamped on it fucking money problems. And we're like, I don't want to think about money problems. Let me turn this. Fucking relationship problems. Fucking COVID. Fucking anti-vaxxers. We just keep turning the diamond. But we're not going to be able to step away from all of that until we recognize it's my eyes that are doing the focus. It's my mind that I have now allowed to take the reins and is focusing only on these things that match the resonance of misery. Do you see? Nothing out there is what brings you the sense of oneness. Nothing. It can help you. It can prompt you. It can trigger that shift. But it isn't the source of the power. You are. You. So, what do you do? What the hell do you do? You have to set up systems that remind you. You have to remember that our default setting is fear and survival. That's our default. It's never going to change. We have to have, all religions have a daily practice of some kind. You're supposed to pray every day. You're supposed to study every day. You're supposed to meditate every day. You're supposed to something every day. And I'm a broken record of blah, blah with the daily practice. Daily practice. Parroting daily practice for the rest of my life. That's what I'll be doing. Daily practice. It's not handed down for thousands of years because it doesn't mean anything. It's everything. You can't go 48 hours and not forget and your mind will take over again. And you've lost your ability to move your own consciousness, to shift where you're focusing. And I am not saying shift over and only think about fluffy bunnies and shit. I'm saying look at the fluffy bunnies and look at the people being starved to death in Ethiopia and look at the neighbor of yours that's waving hate flags, trying to put up a swastika or something. And remember that you're the source of all the things and ask your own body, what action are you supposed to take? Are you supposed to just be aware of it? Are you supposed to pray for it? Are you supposed to get out and march about it? Are you supposed to run for office? Are you supposed to get on a task force? Like, what are you supposed to do with it? Hold it in your awareness. All of it. All of it. This gets distorted in that, well, if I'm the boss of my perception, then I should only be focusing on the good things. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. No, yes, both, and. All of it. All of it. All of it. I feel like I want to have pom-poms. and like create a cheer. I was never a cheerleader, although I did twirl a pretty mean baton. And I don't think baton twirling is a thing anymore, unless you're in a marching band. Because I was 8, this is a tangent. I was 8 when I got my first baton that I remember, and I loved it. And I was thinking, oh, I should get the twins some batons. And I was like, I don't see those everywhere like I used to. So anyway, I'll just go on the internet. Auntie Google will tell me where to find batons. Okay, so back to the subject. So what do? Daily practice with an intention to remember that the oneness, all your power is in your own body right now. Right now. Our bodies deteriorate because through our behavioral choices because we fall into victim thinking. I can't stop eating sugar. I can't take a walk. I just can't. Well, let me tell you, if a bear was on your ass, you would be moving your ass down the street. It's motivation. It's mind tricks. Our mind fools us. I spent the last 9 months thinking that I was not able to lose weight. And me of all people should know better than that. I just needed the proper motivation, which was a series of test results that scared the shit out of me. And I've lost 17 pounds since September 18th. So I I just had to laugh at myself. I was like, I can't believe I had fooled myself again that I was doing everything I could to get the weight back down. I'm highly uncomfortable. I'm not saying you have to lose weight to be pretty or whatever, but when you're carrying too much weight on your body and it's uncomfortable, then you need to get that shit off. But I had fooled myself into thinking I was doing everything I could do, and I certainly was not. Because as soon as I did start doing everything I need to do, well, darned if the weight didn't start coming off. So it's tricky. So it's nothing to be embarrassed about or ashamed about or angry about. It's normal. It's normal. Your mind is a master who sits, the master of your brain that sits on the throne of lies. It's normal. So we just have to catch ourselves and laugh about it and go, oh, how's your daily practice lately? Is it slipping? Mine was not slipping, but because I always do something. But some scary things made me feel disempowered and helped me to forget that the sun is always shining. And my mind has really been producing a lot of clouds this year. Totally normal. The world is like, it's different now. And it's never going back, and we have to grieve that if you haven't already. All right, so what do? Refocus. Your daily time, wherever you do that, your intent can be, this is effective. If you make your intention to experience your own sense of oneness, connection with the universe, the long-term arc of your soul. The long-term arc of your soul is a book. This life is only one chapter in that book. If you want to break it down even smaller, this life is one scene in one chapter of your millennia, bazillion year long book. Okay? So we have to take it seriously. We have to be aware of it and get as much as we can out of it because we want that long-term book to be as rich and complex as possible. To be so dynamic and kaleidoscopic. Kaleidoscopes are my favorite toy because they're always changing and they're fragmented. They're bits and pieces of broken things. And when you turn it, it makes something beautiful. You can think of it that way. I love the symbolism in a kaleidoscope. And one of these days, I'm going to stop being a cheap ass and buy one of those really beautiful brass ones with the wheel on the end. Anyway, so here's a way you can tap into what I'm talking about if you aren't quite getting what I'm talking about. Show up for yourself like you show up for your clients. When you're in a session with your clients, speaking to coaches and therapists and people who serve people here, which I think is, I mean, I don't know who would be listening to this podcast if weren't in service somehow, even if all you're doing is praying for the world now and then. Show up for yourself like you do for your clients. I hope that you are not allowing your mind to chatter while you're focused on a client. When you're focused on a client, you are focused on that client. You're holding space. You can think of it that way. When you're holding space, there's a laser focus. Your money problems are not in your head. Your appointments for the rest of the day are not in your head. The argument you were having with yourself 5 minutes before the call is not in your head. Your space holding and the container you create to hold your client and her or his or their issues that you're helping them with is all that exists in that moment because you are focused deliberately on the processes that you do. You're listening. You're amping up your intuition. You're getting insights. You're getting physical sensations. And nothing else exists. Who do you think did that? You did. Somewhere you were born with, or you learned how to be so interested in somebody else that you push everything else to the side. Everything else is held at bay. You're doing that. That's not a mystery. You make a choice to be so focused on them because it matters to you, and it works every single time. It may take a little effort. Like when I was a therapist and working in child protection, ugh, God, I hate even saying it. When an emergency pops up, even if I was very upset about something, or even if I was sick that day, it all disappeared and my focus was on that child and only on that child. Other parts of my brain, would be evaluating which direction to go and who do I need to call and what needs to happen and all that stuff. But my energy focus was only on that kid. If you've ever had an emergency, you're in the middle of something and all of a sudden you get the phone call and you got to drop everything and go get your kid from school or go to the hospital, God forbid, something big happens. All the things that you were just thinking about, gone, disappeared. Now, when the crisis is over, they may come back full force. But you do have the ability to shift your focus because you've done it before. All I'm saying is that is a skill that you can employ without an emergency. That's a skill that you have that you get to implement when you want to implement it. When you want to shift your focus away from the mundane aspects of life, like the leaf blowers, the marathon of leaf blowing that happens on the weekends around here. When I'm talking to this, I completely forgot about the leaf blowers, and I can still hear them. You probably can't hear them because I'm in the car, in a garage, in the house, but I had completely forgotten about them. So that's just an even tiny example. My focus is on making sure that I get some words out that hopefully will help you, dear listener. And so the leaf blowers were out of my consciousness, where before I started this, I was pretty aggravated about them because I really hate the sound. I actually did my daily practice this morning in my bedroom with earplugs in because it blocked it out enough that I could focus. But even if I couldn't find earplugs, I have played with sounds like barking dogs, which can be super distracting if you have a dog in the neighborhood that's anxious and just barks all the time. We can do it. I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm saying that we have that power. And the more we deliberately focus here and then focus there and then focus over there and then back up and hold all the things, that when we're doing that on the daily, it becomes easier and easier. Okay, so focus on a client. If you've ever done that, that's what I'm talking about. You're so focused on your whatever you're choosing to focus on that everything else recedes. This stepping into the zone, the flow, but doing it deliberately and applying it when you're cranked up about whatever your issue du jour is. Money, relationships, or your health. Remember, it's just only three things. And then there's subcategories that you can freak out about, but there's really only three things that you're worrying about. But when you catch that going on, you know that worrying about it's not going to help. It just is all that the mind knows how to do. So hold space for yourself. Show up for your daily practice, for your time to contemplate, like you would show up for a client. Completely focused, completely committed to holding space for yourself so that you can hear your mind worrying, so that you can see where you're feeling victimized by external circumstances, so you can see where you're thinking that situation X is causing response Y in you. And we know that's not the case. So you can remember that you're telling stories about everything you see, feel, and hear and experience as you're going through life. You're telling stories about it. So you can back up enough to see yourself with a little objectivity and go, what am I allowing to happen here? Am I listening to 8 hours of NPR a day again? Well, okay, we need to change that. Do you have the alert set? This is when I have to go into my phone and change, or I did just change it actually, but just a few days ago. I had the alert set on the Washington Post. So when something happened, the Washington Post would say, hey, something happened. I'd be like, oh my God, what just happened? Let me go look at it. Let me go let my mind get all freaked out. Right? Okay, I had to turn that alert off because that is completely useless. It doesn't help. And it would distract me out of whatever I was doing, and then I would be off, and sometimes for like an hour or more before I would catch it and go, God dang it, I'm supposed to be building this website, and I'm over here lost in the land of the Washington Post. Not helpful. It's a split. It creates a split. It's a healer split. We're in healer mode or we're in ordinary freak out daily life. Daily life mode. We're bored. We're anxious. We're angry. We're blah, 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 blah. You know? Show up in healer mode for your own life. You flip that switch. I know y'all know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, then book a session and let's talk how to do it. Your human design can help you figure out how you personally do it. What's your unique challenges and gifts? We can do that. And that's insert commercial here. thatmichellewolf.com/human design. End commercial. So we can do it. Like if you really don't know how to do it, I can teach you how to do it. Because I know you're doing it, that you may not be aware that you're doing it. And that's where a therapist or a coach can help you. It's like, no, I know you know this somewhere. You may not be conscious of it, but we can help you become conscious of it. You would not allow a client, I hope, you would not allow a client of yours to talk shit about themselves in front of you and not intervene. You wouldn't let them. If I have a client who's like, I'm so terrible, or I'm never going to get this, or whatever, I'm immediately going to intervene and call that out. That's a story you're telling yourself. That's a choice you're making in this moment. Would you like to do something different? Would you like to take a look at where that story came from and maybe let's find a different one? When you're so busy telling that story, what are you really not facing? It's usually your power. I'd rather tell a victim story than take the package that comes with accepting the power that you are, because it comes with some stuff that you may or may not want, that you may or may not think you can handle. You can, but you may not think you can. So it's easier to focus out there and bitch, moan, and whine and feel anxious and attacked and victimized, right? Again, if you or now start beating yourself up about it, that's just a different angle of the same shit, right? So don't do that. It's normal. Let's really know what's normal for our brains so that we can quit taking it personal. It's really easy for Don Miguel Ruiz to say, don't take it personal. Well, thanks, Senor Ruiz. All respect to you. And also, it's not that simple. You have to be able to step back to hear and see and be aware of what's happening before you can make a choice of what you want to do with it. And you start that stepping back process by practicing every single day. What is true here? Okay, what's truer? All right, what's even more true? You just keep picking at that. When was the last time I felt the sun full force? Now let me remember that and reawaken that and remember that if I can show up for a client in full force, 100% authenticity and focus, then I can goddamn well show up for myself in the same way. You know that feeling of, I hope you know this feeling, that power that flows through you when you can feel all their helpers show up, like all of a sudden their team invisible is very present and strong, and then you can feel your team invisible all around you very present and strong. If you haven't felt this, you will if you want to. You got to set the intention and start practicing and asking for it. But that sense of I am a conduit for, I'm holding space for all these energies to rearrange and do their thing with this human being, this other human being, and I'm in the back seat. I'm just holding this space. That's a very powerful feeling. It's a hands-off feeling. It's a zero mind interference. There's no clouds. It's all sun. Not a cloud in the sky. And the most miraculous things happen. That's what I'm talking about. You recognize the clouds for what they are. You recognize the mind producing story clouds. And you recognize that it is blocking your awareness of the sun, which is always there, which you cannot be separate from. You can just forget about it. And then you go back to that. Like, oh my God, I am capable of holding space for people. I am capable of, in air quotes, stopping time, because it feels like that. Like you're opening a bubble of space where that's outside of the time-space continuum somehow, and miracles can happen because there's zero interference. It's the zero interference that opens the door for those things to occur. And a lot of times with your clients, the miracle happens and then they forget it 5 minutes later. And that's okay, because the mind comes right in and takes over after the session. That's okay. If they've even had 30 seconds of being free of the hold of that story, it'll come back. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to interfere with it. You just trust in that. That's what I'm talking about. This heals the division for us to remember, oh, where am I focused right now? This is just a matter of shifting focus. So the other analogy I use, and then I'll shut up, is going to a party. Our ears are so intelligent that they tune noise out. If it's safety, you know you're at a party and there's, let's say, 25 different voices in the room. Ooh, Lord, the thought of being in a room with 25 people all talking at the same time sounds horrible. Let me make it smaller. So you're in a room and there's 10 people and they're all talking, right? And you are facing one of your friends and you hear their voice very clearly, but the rest of it is background noise. You don't hear the two people talking in the kitchen. You don't hear the two people who may be just standing a few feet away from you. You don't hear them. They're background noise because you're focused on your friend's voice. You're focused. Then when your friend stops talking or y'all take a break to take a sip of your beverage, you become aware of the background noise. Just like I'm talking to you, I'm focused, I'm trying to bring this stuff through and trying to make sure I'm coherent and don't wander off on too many tangents, and the leaf blower noise disappears. Did the leaf blower noise really disappear? I tell you what, it did not, because it's right here when I tune back into it. Okay, I focus, but oh, is the leaf blower no? Oh, no, it's right there. I refocus. Now I hear the leaf blowers again. Okay, at a party, you don't hear the other 8 voices. You hear your voice and your friend's voice because that's where you have chosen to focus. Then, when y'all are taking a break, all of a sudden you hear the 3 people that are 5 feet away from you. You hear their conversation now. Their conversation didn't just magically start, it was going the whole time. You didn't hear it. Your ears were receiving information, but your brain filtered it out and put your focus on your friend. That's what I'm talking about. Where's your focus? Are you focusing on your internal sense of oneness? Are you focused in remembering that you are a powerful being? Are you reminding yourself that you have the ability to hold a space for people that allows them to do the work that they need to do? You're not doing it. And if you think you're the one doing their transformation, you need to back up and we need to have a conversation. You're not doing it. You're bringing your skills and talents and your ability to hold space to the table and offering the opportunity, and they're doing the work or not. They don't have to. Maybe they get nothing out of your session and go off and tell people you're a terrible therapist or coach or whatever you are. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have any control over that. It's an egoless, mind-free state. You can live your life in that state more often than in the external world is ruining my life state. You can do that. And I know you can do it because you've done it. You've done it for a client. You've done it for a friend. You've done it in an emergency. You have shifted your focus. You're not helpless. You're not lost. You can't lose God. You can't lose the mother, whatever you connect to. You can't lose it. It can't ever be lost. But you can forget that you can tune in, that you can choose your focus. You can forget that. That's why religious texts, spiritual traditions, all have that built in. You don't need to read a book 1,000 times. You do need to read a book 1,000 times because it reminds you, it helps you stay steady. It helps you not fall victim. What you're really being victimized by is your own thoughts. You fall victim to the mind. You fall prey to the tendencies of the mind if you don't do this other work. Your only protection is training yourself and your nervous system. Different conversation, Unfuckwithable Warriors on my website. I think it's thatmichellewolf.com/warriors. You can just go read a little bit about that. That class doesn't start till January. Oops, I forgot to warn you. I was popping in a commercial, but there you go. And on we go. Training your ability and your capacity to hold discomfort. Training every day in your ability to look at the crap parts of the world, the parts that we'd rather ignore, and look at the parts of life that are going exceedingly well, that you can grow the capacity, the skills, the ability to see it all, and then choose with your sovereign self where you're going to focus. There is a multifaceted diamond within every angle is something you can focus on. You focus on all of it, practice being comfortable with all the angles, and then you can hold the whole diamond, And then you can remember that you are the whole diamond. Okay. I'm going to call that good. I'll probably go back to complaining about the leaf blowers. No, I won't. Because it does not bring me pleasure to focus on the leaf blower sound. It brings me pleasure to focus on other things. So, sending you so much love. And until we talk again, think less, feel more. Talk to you later.